If our small forwards are all available, Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott, Lachie Schultz, Beau McCreery, and help me out, Joe Richards. If they're all available, I'll narrow it down. Are you taking Joe Richards or Lachie Schultz for that final position in the small forward department?
Oh, that is a great question, by the way.
Champ, another draw. What are we saying, man? 2 draws this year. Do you know when the last time Collingwood drew twice in a season?
Wouldn't have a clue, mate, but it's bloody heartbreaking. Heartbreaking that there's no end result, kind of, that feeling of emptiness, leaving your house once again. It's very eerie feeling driving home.
Yeah, our record would be 2 draws and maybe, I don't even know if we have a win to our name watching some of the games together this season.
We got Carlton.
Oh, we got Carlton. So we're 1, 2, and 0. So we're technically undefeated. So we'll take that. But just to answer that little trivia question that I had prepared for you, that was Collingwood 2010. So that draw against St Kilda. And I forget who we drew against also in that season. But nevertheless, we got those 2 draws and we got the flag. So maybe we can run it back and emulate something similar, huh?
Yeah, good omen maybe. So
yeah. Now, here's the thing, brother. We've just run through about half an hour of our topics that we're going to go through, but I'm gonna come at you with no heating up, because I know you want to get me bad in this episode. So I'm going to get you early, and I'm going to hit you with a question without notice. And I'm asking you, champ, if our small forwards are all available, Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott, Lachie Schultz, Beau McCreery, and help me out, Joe Richards. If they're all available, I'll narrow it down. Are you taking Joe Richards or Lachie Schultz for that final position in the small forward department?
That is a great question, by the way. Definitely interested to see what the comments will think of this. But look, I think so far, small sample size, Richards is doing quite good. And can't deny that. A lot of upside there. But I think I've still edged Schultz just a little bit, just because obviously he's got a lot of past experience playing at Freo. He's got to adjust to the system. I think he's not doing too bad. He's finding some form when not getting suspended. So I reckon Lachie Schultz. Plus, we did a lot to get him, so you'd kind of hope we would have thrown that away. But I don't know. It's hard. Richard's been playing very, very well though. Champs, what are you picking?
Yeah, it can be a bit of a sunk cost fallacy sometimes, in the sense that you sometimes might overinvest in someone, and because of that massive investment, you're so reluctant to cut your losses with that player. But exactly. I guess who could have foreseen the rise in form in Joe Richards? Nobody really, right? Nobody would have had him even in our best 26. Our emergencies at the start of the year, and all of a sudden he's taken the team by storm and he's playing well. And I think he's one of the most highest rated small forwards in the league, let alone doing well in the small forward department for the team. So with Lachie Schultz, I don't know. There will be conversations, and it will continue for the rest of the season. Was he worth what we gave up, giving up a first round pick in a draft that runs deep this year? I don't know. It'll be an interesting one. But Joe Richards is doing well. He didn't get the rising star for the week. Can you guess who may have got the rising star, champs? I'll give you a hint. It was a Collingwood player.
And I seen a champ, Harvey Harrison, the man. Back again, 3 goals. Can't deny that. But I think, you're a man who loves an analogy. So I think the good analogy for that is sometimes the rope. You're holding the rope. Sometimes it hurts less to let go than holding on. You get that rope burn. So that's a good analogy, champs, and you can use that one later on or in another podcast potentially.
Oh, I fumbled the bag when I tried using that reaps the fruits of our labors. I cooked that one on our live stream during the weekend, didn't I?
Yeah.
Got there in the end. So now it was good. And we'll tie that in with a unpopular opinion that was shared by Jaden R87. His statement, or for the unpopular opinion segment, was Harvey Harrison is playing so good, he should be in our best 22. I'll leave the floor for that one for you, champs.
Yeah, I think he holds his spot at the moment. He's playing very, very good footy. 3 goals over the weekend. He just looks really dangerous every time he gets near the ball. His scoring involvement's good. Disposal efficiency is good. So I think he really holds his spot there. And yeah, I think he does a good job. And moving forward, and same with moving back to Sullivan as well. You know, even if you have Schultz have a couple more rounds, if perfect world, right? It doesn't mean Fly's not going to be able to drop them in finals. We see what he did last year to Noble, played every game, gets dropped in the granny. So no one's spots guaranteed. So, just to keep that in mind as well with the previous conversation. But to your point, Harvey Harrison, I think is well within the best 22.
100% agreed, and I don't know if it's probably not an unpopular opinion after the game against Fremantle. Was it 3 goals?
Yep.
From memory, 3 goals, 3 shots, 3 goals in crucial moments. So it's going to be hard for Harvey to lose his spot at least for the next 4 weeks or so. Furthermore, I think for mine, I think that really hurts Sidebottom's chances of remaining in the team later in the season. If he continues to hold down the halfback flank spot, that's great. But I don't know if that wing spot's going to be available anymore because of the rise of form in a player like Harvey Harrison, right?
Yeah, exactly right. I feel like we're always coming at Sidey, but he's been holding that position down very well in the halfback position. We mentioned it in the pre-game show as well for the viewers that watched there that he just knows when to leave his opponent, comes across, loves a big spoil. So he's been doing well. It'd be interesting once we have a full side again. Will it ever happen? I don't know. It seems like we're copying so many injuries each week. But yeah there's going to be some definitely selection headaches moving forward for Collingwood.
I look, fortunately, with the injury scenario, they are more on the short term side. So maybe a little bit lucky in that sense, I think, compared to maybe some other clubs that are probably dealing with more medium to long term injuries on their list. So sort of a blessing in disguise in what you make of that situation. You've got something for the listeners. And guys, just quickly, we are obviously doing the podcast on YouTube on the video platform, but we also have it on Spotify in the description. So if you're on the way to work or want to listen to this in anticipation for the game against the Doggies this Friday night, then chuck it on Spotify. The link is in the description. But Champs, you've got something to talk about in regards to the score reviews this season.
Yes, Champs, very hot topic, the score review. But I think, and I believe, Crypto.com score review partnership is just pure advertisement. We're seeing a lot more this year, a lot of calls that are, the goal umpire's right there. He's going up for a score review. So I did a little bit of an analysis and, a little bit of background for the viewers. I actually my day job is in marketing and we have actually sponsored the AFL. So obviously with the pitch, they go, this is how many eyes we're going to get when, your signage is going to be around the ground. That's what my company did. But in this instance, right, what they'd be doing to pitch it to Crypto.com, they'll be charging an absolute premium price for it. Did some little analysis here, guys. So 8.1 million people attend the 2023 season, 141 million viewership. So watching home on TV, about an average of 557K per match, right? So essentially altogether, that's about 149 million people viewing the Crypto.com when it pops up either at the game or if you're watching at home, right? Because it pops up right there, Crypto.com. Is it a goal or is it not, right? So my thing is, you're seeing an influx, then you'd also be saying, look, we're averaging about 4 or 5 score involved goal reviews a game. Then they're going to be able to take that data to competitors and they're going to get a premium price for that spot. And it's going to keep going up. So that is the hot take you're hearing here first at Pies Eyes Podcast. Also, very similar to the NRL back in the day, in the late 2000s. I couldn't exactly find it. I remember my old man talking about it a lot, but KFC used to do the score review TMO in the rugby league. And all I could find was a Reddit post from about late 2009. So maybe my dad was onto something there. But, same thing kind of happened there. Now it's kind of accepted in the NRL. But, you can't deny the numbers. 149 million people a season seeing the crypto.com. We're seeing some more bullshit score reviews. To me, that makes sense. Pure money for the AFL. What are you thinking, Chance?
Yeah, mate. Look, it's a conspiracy, and I'm aboard this conspiracy train because if you think about it, right, what's one or two extra score reviews to the AFL in the grand scheme of things? They know they've got us by the nuts. So, as much as we complain about the superfluous amount of score reviews that we are seeing at the moment, at the end of the day, we're still going to tune in and watch our favorite teams, right? So for them to get the nudge from crypto.com and say, hey, can you give us a couple extra games to give us a little bit more notoriety, then it's no skin off the AFL's back, is it?
Exactly right. It's not even be crypto.com might not even be in the loop. It's just they might have an agreement to, okay, we're going to be the score review sponsor up until the 2025 season. And then that's their agreement. 2026 comes, then they open it up and say, look, you can see it, score reviews, they're trending up in trajectory, where we've gone from, let's say, 4 to 8. I'm just spitballing numbers here.
Yeah.
For that 2026, then they're going to have to pay for an even more higher price, and other people would want to get that premium spot as well. So, just food for thought there. A little bit of conspiracy, but, well, what's life without,
we love a conspiracy. Let's be honest, bro. We love a conspiracy, that's for sure. And it seems like NRL or KFC have done really well because look at KFC is number one right now, yeah? In the tiers of the takeaway outlets in Australia, and this isn't on our segment for today's podcast, but we're going to talk about it just quickly. What are the tiers? Tiers for the takeaway. Yeah.
Islander, KFC number one.
Yep.
On the Friday champs, unreal. Good bargains on the app. If you guys aren't on the KFC app, got to get on it.
Hey, man, that's a little bit too much commitment for me, the app thing. It kind of scares me. It doesn't sit right with me to have a takeaway food app on my phone. It's a commitment too far for me.
Anyway, you're missing out on some good deals. So if you want to save in, inflation's gone a little bit crazy, download the app. All right. Number 2, Hungry Jacks. Bit of a hot take. People might think Macca's. For me, no Macca's. Hungry Jacks. 3. If you want to, are we doing big 3 or are we just doing are we including Red Rooster?
Yeah, we get Red Rooster in there for sure.
I'm going Red Rooster. Number 3. Rooster rolls pretty good. I reckon that's top tier. And then Macca's right at the bottom. If you wanted to split out Macca's breakfast, I'd put that up around the number 2. I love the breakfast at Macca's. Yeah. But the Big Mac.
Wait. Who's number 1 for breakfast then?
Oh, it would be Macca's. No, I'm saying
you said number 2, brother.
KFC, then Macca's breakfast is what I'm saying for the fast food.
Got you.
But if you have to make it all encompassing, I just don't think Macca's competes these days. It's a bit like cardboard for me. So I'll throw that over to you, Chams. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Yeah, KFC 1 for me, HJ's 2, Macca's 3, Red Rooster 4. And if I could have a meal with all of those outlets comprised, it'd be a twister with a large popcorn chicken, 6 chicken McNuggets with sweet and sour sauce from McDonald's with their fries, potato and gravy from KFC. And if I'm feeling a burger on top of all of that, because I can handle a good portion of food, I'll go the bacon deluxe and a storm, cookie and cream storm. And for dessert, after dessert, I'll have a cookie and cream crusher from KFC, which is no longer on the menus.
Mate, that's not even the best one. The Golden Gate Time crusher was optimal. It was the best.
Hey, I'm not opposed to it. Cookies and creams for me. Golden Gate Time is better than ice cream, not a shake. But that's my opinion. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But yeah, moving on, that's a good one. I'd like to get your thoughts in the comment section, guys. Give us your best meal comprised of those 4 fast food outlets. Just parlaying or segueing from that score review idea that you've come to mind with. I want to transition that into the review going back to the middle. When they don't call the score review, I feel like the people in the score review headquarters don't have the guts or the confidence to, if there is a 50-50 call that's leaning towards the fact that maybe there was a shot that was touched by a player, I feel like they're very reluctant to make that call. And by the time they're maybe willing to make that decision, the ball's already being bounced. So we're talking, all right, we need less reviews. Okay, that's fine. We have a minute to review. If we don't call the review, then that's fine. We have a minute to get back to the bounce. But that minute, for some reason, isn't enough for the score review headquarters to maybe channel into the umpire on the ground and say, hey, we've got a slight inkling that this is touched. Give us an extra 20 seconds, right? Because sometimes the score reviews at the first point when it's called by the goal umpire could last 2 minutes sometimes. So what's an extra 20 seconds once you go back to the middle and you have a strong inkling that something could be touched, right? So my concern is we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't right now. Ultimately, these umpires don't have the confidence and belief in what they're seeing to make a call. They're too scared.
Exactly.
That's my
right.
concern.
We saw it on the weekend, champs. You know, we're watching the game, and Quaynor, from I think most viewers could see he touched the footy, and there's no score review there. It starts the 3-0 roll, and momentum starts to shift. And I think, you know, if you can see it quite clearly, even the commentators on Fox Sport was even talking about it, that's a clear touch. So yeah, I think that kind of did us a little bit dirty, but at the end of the day, a team need to overcome that. But yeah, I think they just need to grow a little bit of balls and make the call if it's there.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the whole matter, but I'm hoping it gets better for the sake of the AFL, because I think we're all concerned as an AFL community with the way things are trending with umpires in many realms, decision making, lack of decisions, power tripping in games, all that sort of stuff. So that's that. And then you tie that in with what we saw in the Gold Coast and Carlton game, where Mac Andrew ties up Charlie Curnow in a twister, essentially, wrapping his legs around Curnow's knee to ensure that he can't dispose of the ball. They're in a tango for like 3-4 seconds. The umpire needs to start calling for a stoppage much earlier than what they're doing right now, because that's when the tackles get dangerous, when you let them linger for a little bit too long, right? You hold on for a little bit too long. The umpire's not making a call. The player's about to dispose of the ball. Okay, I've got to bring him to the ground now. So what do you want? I understand the game wants less stoppages, but is that going to be at the expense of these tackles going one step further than they probably should?
It's a good point, champs. It's a good point, because, you know, you see it often, right? Guys are trying to, you know, get rid of the ball, and then the umpire isn't, you know, blowing the whistle, and then you just see the person bang, dump them into the ground. It happens a lot. So yeah, sometimes that whistle just needs to be blown a little bit earlier.
Yeah. It's a watch this space for that one. Keeping a very close eye on that. But let's have a look at another unpopular opinion from Bernard Parsons 7682, a frequent viewer and contributor on the Pies Footy YouTube channel. He says Isaac Quaynor is not playing with the same confidence and freedom. His form has been disappointing. I have wondered if he's had an undisclosed injury or been asked to perform a negative role. I thought he was better against the Crows, and obviously now that we've played Freo, what are we saying?
Yeah, I think like obviously his stats are down, and we've looked at that, but he's still pretty good one-on-one. He's averaging, you know, 20%. He's only losing 20% of his one-on-ones, which is pretty good. His career low is 16.7%. So it is slightly up, but it's still incredibly low. So that's been down. His intercept marks are down as well. He's only averaging 1.1 intercept marks a game compared to 2.5 last year.
Wow, 2.5 last year.
Yeah, so he's down.
Wow.
He is a little bit, but as a defender, and look, I've got a soft spot for Quaynor, and you know I do, right? So
Yeah,
I
I know
might
you do because you wear his sleeve during the game.
I wear the calf sleeve. I had the pink boots. You know what I mean? A little bit of correlation there. But sometimes if another team knows you're such a good one-on-one defender, and that's become quite evident last year, got a lot of media coverage. I'm just saying, is there a little bit of psychological part of that from our opponents to not kick him the ball? Because at the end of the day, and also being a defender at local footy, if they're not kicking my man the ball, that means I'm doing a good job in shutting them down as an opponent. So maybe that's a little bit to do with it. I know we do play a zone defense, but yeah, you can't deny his numbers are down, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom and who would come in to replace him.
Yeah, I don't think he's anywhere near close to out the door of our starting team. I think with the role he's being asked to play, he's not asked to carry the ball and move it well. You've got players like Nick Dacos, John Noble, still side bottom doing that right now. And if Darcy Moore and Billy Frampton are taking the load of intercept marks with Charlie Dean in as well now, I guess Isaac Quaynor sometimes will have a lesser imprint on the game by way of the role he's asked to fill. And his role predominantly is to defend first and everything else comes after the fact. Sure, the intercept marks one is an interesting one, 100%. That's a big drop off, but there's so many variables at play. How many times is the ball actually landing to him in an opportunity for him to actually intercept the ball? So look, yes, his numbers are down, but it's a role where it's like the small forward role. Some weeks are up, some weeks are down. Bobby Hill was flying early in the season. He's a little bit down right now, but that's just the temperaments of that role, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah. But we do have someone that we've been saving to talk about for the podcast. And I don't know if he's been talked about a whole lot since what happened last Thursday for the selections for the game against Freo, but Finlay McCrae was dropped again.
Heartbreak, isn't it, champs? For him.
Confusing.
So obviously West Coast plays very well. Thought he did a great job. 17 disposals for him. And even over the 2 games he played, he averaged 4.5 score involvements across those 2 games. If you look at the Adelaide game, which is probably been the reason why he got dropped, only got 12 disposals. No goals or direct assists, but he was still involved with 4 scoring involvements and laid 5 tackles. So I still thought he did enough to hold his spot, but obviously the coaching panel the selection panel saw something different, and he was dropped. What do you like? I don't know, champs. I really hope this isn't the catalyst of him leaving Collingwood.
It's a tough one to bounce back from. He hardly put a foot wrong. He's been asked to play out of position in that high half forward flank role, which is very difficult, which we just alluded to before. So we'll see where it goes. It's tough, but that's the nature of being in a team that just won a premiership and has a bunch of players up and about right now. Despite the injuries, I understand maybe with Ed Allen not having the impact that maybe he would have liked to have had in his first game, maybe we can get Finlay McCrae out onto a wing. I don't know how he goes on the outside with his ball use, but we know he's got the tank and the tackling pressure to warrant maybe an opportunity on that wing, because I don't think Ed Allen's quite ready just yet. It's good to see that he got a game under his belt, but even with the way Will Parker came on and had that impact in the game against Freo, had a bunch of disposals, a few ground ball gets, a couple contested possessions, I don't think Will Parker gets dropped, but I think Ed Allen's a chance to miss against the Bulldogs. And if all things are even and there's no influx of players coming back in like a Geordie De Goey or Tom Mitchell, I think Finlay McCrae has to get. I keep saying this. He has to get a fair run at it, and he hasn't gotten that yet. But unfortunately, that's just what happens in these competitive teams at this moment.
Yeah, it's a good issue to have if you're a Collingwood fan and Collingwood selection board, that there are guys banging on the door to get into the squad. So, as bad as down as Finlay might be, it is a good Collingwood situation to have that you've got these guys ready. Because at the end of the day, it's your bottom six that wins you a side. Everyone's top six side will be good. It's what those bottom six can give you is really going to be key to winning and a longevity for a side as well in the reserve squad.
Yeah, goodness, there's a great deal of competition in that bottom six right now at Collingwood. So that's very healthy for Collingwood as a whole, at the very least. On an individual level, it's challenging, of course, but holistically, it's a great position for Collingwood to be in, right?
Exactly right.
And where are we seeing Beau McCreery at right now? He had a reasonable amount of time in the centre against Fremantle. I know we don't have the stats in front of us, but as far as the eye test was concerned, what did you see in his game?
I think he did pretty well on the weekend. Everybody was in the high half forward role, like come up on the ground, a lot of pressure, which is what we've come to expect from him. The only concern I do have, and it's not just in regards to Beau, is, we saw the last few games we had Jack Crisp, Pendles, and Dacos averaging about high 80% of centre bounce clearance. Then, obviously, over the weekend, don't have the stats in front of me, but we did see Beau in there. We saw Lachie Schultz in there.
Josh Dacos as well.
Josh Dacos, yes. How could I forget that? And I don't think we were as effective as we were in the previous weeks in the clearance. And, you can say, yes, Fremantle's a good clearance side. I do not dispute that. But we saw in Carlton, they held their own and we looked really good in there. So my concern is the chopping and changing. And it was a lot of, each centre clearance, centre bounce, I should say, was a new midfield group, at least for the first half. I remember. So just something to note, we did say in the pre-game show, you don't want to upset the apple cart when it's in there, when it's working well. So that's just something we just need to, I'd be very interested to know what happens against the Bulldogs on Friday, and just moving forward. But for Beau, I think he played well. And he just brings pressure, and that's what we want from him. So I think he gets a tick there.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I love about Beau is he's not afraid to take on the game. He got caught a couple times when he was trying to take it on, but to see that fearlessness, that relentlessness to take on what's ahead of him is a trait that is highly, I guess, it's highly, what's the word, man?
Desirable or...
It's a trait that is highly coveted amongst the AFL teams and looking for what they want in a midfielder a power midfielder like a Beau McCreery, who can have a similar impact that Jordan De Goey can have at the best of times. I don't know if you could do it on a level as consistent as De Goey has done so, particularly in the final series, but I think it's worth a shot to continue investing in Beau McCreery and centre bounce attendances for the remainder of the year. And we're scoring well from stoppages. Whether or not we win the centre clearance count or the stoppage clearance count, I think the main thing is if we're scoring more from it relative to the other team, then that's a tick for Collingwood. I think we've done that really well this year entirely.
Exactly right. Yeah, so just a little bit of reference as well. Beau was the second highest pressure act player on the ground for them. So it just speaks to what he brings when he's on the ground. We're talking about a guy that is going to be your inside mid, put a lot of pressure on, and then also that high half forward or just that half forward role that he plays in all those pressure acts that add up during the game and it shows directly in the stat line.
Yeah. 100%. And he's a bull. You don't want to run into him. I've seen him at the gym, the local Derrimut at Oakley, and he's bigger than what you may think. And I heard he doesn't gym a whole lot. I think I was listening to the Tom Mitchell podcast with Beau McCreery on it, and he said he was benching he could hit 150 for one, which is incredible considering he is predominantly, he's an AFL athlete and he's got the enough endurance to get him through an AFL level game. But the fact that he can also bench 150 and obviously is not hitting those numbers during the season, the fact that he can come into an off season and hit those numbers just shows how, I guess, how much he has on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to power and endurance in his game. We'll move into another unpopular opinion. And this one we have here says the wheels are about to fall off at Pyland. The selection of Parker and the move to trade for Mark Keane from Adelaide to try correct a previous decision error will become known as the moments the wheels started to come off. Arrogance, hubris, or just plain stupidity, perhaps all three. This is the stuff that fragments the teams and the clubs. Now, hindsight is 2020, considering this comment was made before the Fremantle game, but I think Parker did all right. We just talked about him. I thought he held his own, came on at Perth.
Yeah, look, there wasn't a lot known about him going in, and I think he did all right. He kind of did help us in a big way where, you know, we selected him. He was able to help us out in defense when Coxie went out. So Franton then had to play a ruck role for a bit. So that made Charlie Dean take the second key forward and then allowed, you know, Will Parker to come in and be that defender that we would have not had on the day. So, look, it was actually kind of a blessing to come in. You know, did get 6 disposals, wasn't too bad around the ground. But yeah, I think, you know, considering I had nothing to go off him, I thought he did all right.
Yeah, and we'll know a little bit more about him in the next few weeks. I think he holds his spot. Regarding he also, the comment also mentions the move to trade for Mark Keane from Adelaide. I don't know. Do you know much about Mark Keane?
It's only from the video you posted.
Yeah. If you haven't watched that video about the Mark Keane potential trade, have a look and then come back to this. But if you want a quick, I guess, overview, briefly, Mark Keane was an ex-Collingwood player. He was also a Category B rookie when he came to Collingwood. He was quite young, would have been in his teens, maybe early 20s, because right now he's 24. And he left apparently on bad terms because he wanted to go home. He was homesick. And then he came back to the AFL a couple of years later. He's now at Adelaide and he's essentially their highest intercept marking player for the team and can use the ball quite well. And there are talks that he's engaging with talks with the Collingwood. Who would he be in talks with, James, at Collingwood?
Just the
who does they talk to, brother?
I don't know who does the
talk to. Whoever Mark Keane is in talks with whoever does the contract talks, whether it's Graham Wright or a Jeff Walsh, I'm not too sure. But in the end, there is a decision to be made there, and I think by the time the season ends, we'll know more about Mark Keane and what he's worth. The number that's being thrown around is $600K a year is on the table. And the other thing to factor in is he's still within contract, so we may have to give up more picks, which is what this comment might be suggesting, is that they're unwilling to give away more picks, considering we've given away a number in the last couple of years. And then the other thing that we need to be mindful of is that Adelaide have a very slim pickings in their backline right now, and I think they will do their best to hold on to someone like Mark Keane in the off-season.
Champs, it's time. Question without notice.
All right. Yep.
Start, cut, bench. All right. 3 of the greatest Collingwood players in Pendles, Swanee, Bucks. Who you starting? Who you cutting? Who you benching? Go.
Start, Scott Pendlebury.
Yep.
Bench, Nathan Buckley. And Dane Swan. Off to King Street you go, mate. Into the clubs. Into the clubs, brother. I'm pretty comfortable laying in that bed where Pendlebury starts, Buckley's on the bench, and Dane Swan. So I should articulate my reasons, right? That might help my case, right? Rather than making analogies and all that sort of stuff and metaphors. But Pendles, because of his longevity, his leadership, his ball use, his basketball background, They're Bucks and Dane Swan. They don't have no basketball background. And yeah, I think Pendle's he's played across nearly 20 years. He's bringing up players like Nick Dacos, so he's done a lot for the club in many ways. 2 flags, led the club as a captain, brought up players like Nick Dacos, and look what he's doing now. So I think I just call it recency bias, if you will. I think I have Pendle starting. Nathan Buckley, we know is that electric player, emulates the game of somebody like Jason Horne-Francis right now. I just think Buckley lacks the overall success and the accolades to be considered a starter amongst those 3. And Dane Swan, we know he's obviously a seagull when it comes to disposals, contested ball, clearances, loves a Brownlow vote or 2, and was capable of kicking goals throughout the entirety of his career. But he lacks the polish, I would say, relative to those 2 players who are going to be Hall of Famers. I think Swanee lacks a bit of polish and maybe a little bit of discipline throughout his career. So those are the variables I consider when laying out those 3.
I reckon you hit the nail on the head. I think the only way that changes is if we talk about postseason footy trips. I'm picking Swanee first.
Yeah. Hey, you don't know what Pendles is like on and off season. We might just not know.
Pendles is giving me nothing. Bucks, all I'm gonna say is that nose, don't be near him. And we'll leave it at that.
Hey, Pendle's nose isn't too far off it. Come on.
Yeah.
They're not the prettiest, but hey, they're much more what's the fuck, bro? I've just gone blank all podcast, but they will be.
Yeah, just cut it.
I will cut bits of it, but they will be. They will.
Come on,
I don't know what to say. I have something on the tip of my tongue, but it's not coming out. But I want to say something like, "We'll never be men like them the way they have been for the Collingwood Football Club." So we can laugh, but in the end, we cry because we're not Pendles and Bucks. Is that fair call?
That's fair.
That's fair call. We got another unpopular opinion from Rodney Rocket, a good mate of ours at the footy club. Can we talk about how Luke Hodge hates the Pies, and you can hear it anytime he commentates our games? Not an unpopular opinion, just an opinion. And I want to add to this. Chris, my brother, unprompted mentioned Luke Hodge, and he's biased against Collingwood also. But we listened to Luke Hodge after Rocket brought that to our attention. I thought he was okay. No?
Yeah. I didn't really notice it all too much. And correct me if I'm wrong, he was actually standing up for that free kick late in the game when it was who gave the ball to Dacos? Yeah, no, full blank that.
Sullivan.
And that's it, yes. Sullivan gave the ball to Dacos. I'm pretty sure Hodge was defending him there, if my memory serves me correct.
Bro, but if he's not defending Sullivan in that case, then there's something wrong. Doesn't matter who you are.
BT, a favourite man, he was not. It's in the rule books. You know, he should have not done that.
What a dummy, mate. Brian Taylor and Kelly Underwood collectively need to disappear from the sports commentator world. BT is past his use-by date, and Kelly Underwood never reached any heights.
Oh man, she's great for clips. Instagram reels. Every time she messes up, makes me laugh. Every time. Imagine a BT Kelly Underwood commentating.
Do you think, much like a dysfunctional family, do you think the AFL intentionally have these commentators commentate games because it brings about commentary within the AFL community who watch the game? Have you thought about that? That's my conspiracy.
It's all about engagement. It's all about social media engagement and what eyes you can bring to the game. And, you know, if that attracts new customers, or not new customers, thinking about work. If it attracts new viewers, then You know,
I mean, sometimes people might tune in to listen to the shit takes that Kelly Underwood has, or the obnoxious, naive comments that BT has, or people probably on the edges of their seats, just waiting to hear BT say one more time, "That was out of bounds. That was out of bounds." What
Oh,
is that?
yeah,
What is that?
I do love Roman BT though. After the game, he's just cutting about in the
Nah.
change rooms, and I don't mind it, man. He's always interviewing someone's mate. They're always taking a piss. You know, it's good viewing. It's good viewing.
Past its use by date, but it was good in its inception. In the beginning, I thought it was really good. Do they still do it?
Yeah, still do it. Still does it. Still does it.
Yeah. But we'll keep an eye on Luke Hodge. Now that I've heard it and I've been told, it's been brought to our attention. I think once we start to hear it, we'll never be able to unhear it. And I'm scared about that because I don't want I'm always so close to muting the games that we watch. And if I notice Luke Hodge has a strong bias against Collingwood with his expert commentary, I'm not going to be happy because it's going to ruin my experience listening to a game. I don't want to be like my dad who watches all the footy games with the sound on mute.
Or in his car listening to the radio.
In his car on the radio. At least the radio, you might have a Bruce McAvaney or someone else, someone who's not mainstream, that it might be refreshing to hear. I'm starting to come around to understand why my dad does that. That might be us, champs, in 20 years. We might be over the mainstream commentary to the point where we're at the back of the Rosstown Hotel in the car park listening to the game on radio while checking the live scores. Is that us?
I'm not. I really hope not, but yeah, nah. There's no spin in that, champ. If that's us, then
put you down.
Yeah,
it's all right. Whatever floats your boat, man.
Oh.
Whatever floats your boat. I've just been told to watch the feet. Champs, tell us about a certain someone in the backline that you love for the Collingwood Football Club.
Hampton Rover boy, Brandon Maynard, Bruzzy, the 1% king. All right, champs. You see him, think he is the number one rated 1%. All right. You think of any big players, we're thinking of Bruzzy. Thinking about his shepherds, his tackles, his shepherding, his just absolute bull, right? As amazing as he is, and he's averaging a career high 5.5 1% as a game, he's averaging right now. Would you know two footy players also in the back line that are actually in the top 10 for 1%ers right now?
At Collingwood.
At Collingwood.
In the top 10 for the entire league.
In the entire league. You've got...
Tell me.
Frampton, our boy Billy, 8 a game. Darcy Moore, 8.5. Compared to Bruzzy, who we consider the 1% king, 5.5. And that is his career high average right now. So a little bit of food for thought right there. But, you got to think as a key defender, you probably are doing a lot of 1%ers, a lot of shepherding, a lot of blocking out as well. But just a food for thought, because that's amazing thing about the eye test. Sometimes you think, if you were to ask me, $10, Caleb, who is averaging or who is the 1% king at Collingwood? I'm saying Maynard all day. But stats don't lie. 8.5% for Darcy Moore within the top 10 of the AFL. Doesn't lie, Jabs.
Yeah. Look, it's handy to know that we have those players up there in those echelons of the 1%ers. Who talks about 1%ers these days? And I think it's something that should be brought to our attention more so than not. But I also want to add, right, there is such things, and you mentioned it at the start of your spiel, there is such thing as highest rated player of the game, which factors in a bunch of variables in those stats. I think if there was a player rating for the 1%ers. I think those 5.51 percenters compared to the best 1%er players in the league, I think Brayden Maynard would notch up into that top 5, given the moments that he does it, how he does it, and how it affects the game. I think that would have him rank much higher with those 5.51 percenters that he averages per game, which is a career high, granted. But I think the rating would have him sit a bit higher than that, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly right. Sometimes, the impact of one of those 1%ers, can be talked about, days afterwards, weeks afterwards, right? Of the effect Maynard can have on a game. So, yeah, champs. Kind of. This is actually going to segue a little bit off topic, but I'm gonna start talking about it. Maynard's bump from last year. I'm not going to call it a bump. His attempted spoil at the footy on Brayshaw. What are your thoughts there, champs?
Fuck. That's a deep one, brother.
Some would say that is a question without notice.
I guess in a nutshell, I feel like he jumped into Brayshaw's landing space. Some people will say otherwise. I think there are rules put in place and interpretations put in place this year to ensure that something like that, if it does happen, there are repercussions for the player that makes an effort on the ball, like Brayden Maynard in that situation. And he didn't have an impact on the play. And similar to in basketball, soccer, if you try and make a play on the ball, and this is like philosophically speaking for the game in its entirety. I'll extend the conversation out to that because I think that will get a bit more bang for buck from that. I think if you make a play on the ball and you don't win the ball, or even if you subsequently hurt the player, I think the player who made that decision to have an impact should be liable in 99% of the cases. There are anomalies. There is inherent risk in the game. But I think Maynard making that attempt to impact the play, he jumped into Brayshaw's landing space. I think Maynard is liable. And I think that's the way it will go moving forward. For example, in basketball, if you try and make a play on a 3-point shot, you try to jump at the shot and you land under the landing space of the basketball player's landing space from where they shoot from, then usually you incur a foul or a flagrant foul, or you might even get ejected for keep putting your feet underneath the player. And it's unintentional, but the fact is they made a play on the ball. There was no impact on the play. Or even so, like I said, you could smother that 3-point shot attempt or that jumper, but at the end of the day, if your feet are underneath that player and they result in an injury, then somebody's at fault, and that will get rid of the blurred lines because we're never sure what the fuck's going to happen when it goes to tribunal with all these cases these days. There's good Samaritans, and Charlie Cameron was let off because he has on based on good character, and then there's this and that. I think there's too much legal loopholes, and it's becoming like this big political lawyer kerfuffle where it becomes a court case and it becomes the lawyers for versus the lawyers against, and who can make the best case, and rather than just calling a spade a spade and being able to reduce it to something as simple as what I've just explained.
Yep. So you're saying he's missing the grand final. If that was to happen this year.
Objectively speaking, the way I would like to see the rules interpreted, I am saying he is missing the rest of that final series last year.
Yeah, interesting, James.
Do
you not think we could be playing devil's advocate here? Do you not think you could be losing a part of the game where guys are, I believe he's had full attention of going up for the ball and spoiling it, and unfortunately he missed the ball and Brayshaw continued running, which he's had to then brace, right? He then makes contact, concussion, unfortunately has to retire. Obviously, that would have not been factored in at all when he's going for the spoil. Everything happens in milliseconds and seconds of a game, right? And obviously, Maynard would obviously feel bad. They've also played their juniors career together. But what you saying? I believe, and I do agree with the points you're making. But could we be losing some of that spark? If I go up for a specky and I put my knee on the back of someone's head, I take a mark, they get concussed. What happens there? Where do we draw the line?
Yeah. Look, I think that is a part of the conversation. How much are we willing to lose off the excitement of the game? Laura Kane, the new CEO or whatever her role is at the AFL, a very senior role, she came out and said something like the specky is something that's not going to be taken out of the game, and we're going to live with the repercussions there. So that's in writing. That's there for everybody to see, and it's been heard now. So I think we can leave that leave that conversation aside for now, in case, unless they want to revisit that in the future. I think that's a natural part of the game that is too great to take away. At least right now. In the next couple of years, we might be having a different conversation, depending on, we might see someone get knocked out in a specky attempt, and then that's just gonna light up a whole nother spot fire. But I guess you say Brayshaw ran into the smother attempt, but I guess when you're running at pace like Brayshaw was, the natural trajectory is to run that way. It's like even in soccer, another example, as a goalkeeper myself, I came out of I came out of my box, the 18-yard box one time, and the ball was in the air, and I went to intercept it using my foot. I tried to kick it away or something. When I jumped up to, the player sort of tried to knock it past me, and I jumped up to try hit the ball. I missed the ball and collided with the other player. So, and I was given a yellow card, and it was a penalty award for the other team. I made a play on the ball, and I missed the ball, and I clapped the other dude. My intention wasn't to hurt him. Clapped him as in I ran into him in the air. I was airborne. Once you're airborne and you make a decision to go airborne, you're liable for the repercussions. I never wanted to hurt him. He got sent to the hospital with broken ribs, but I was trying to make a play on the ball.
Yeah.
But soccer, it's black and white. That is a free kick, and that is a yellow card, red card, whatever it warrants. That's what I'm asking for in AFL. There's a lot of this needs a whole podcast for it within itself. So I want to get too deep into it, but there's so much to talk about it when it comes to it. And yeah, it's a tricky one.
Yeah. All right, James. One last thing. Did you save the penalty?
No. And I got dropped the next week, so it's all good. I got dropped the next week.
City?
Nah, it was at Dandenong City. It was at Dandenong City. I was a youngster asked to fill the senior boots. The senior goalkeeper was injured for a couple of weeks, and that was my opportunity to come in and have an impact. And I was dropped after one game, and I think I played a couple more games that year. And then we played at Melbourne City next year somehow, despite only playing a few handful of games as seniors. But that's another story for another day, maybe on a more personal podcast. We can get to know each other on a personal level. Obviously, we know each other probably too well, to be fair, Chance, but maybe at some stage the viewers might want to know a little bit more about us and a little bit more beyond maybe our backgrounds. But Champs, you've pimped out for the YouTube viewers? They're probably wondering what's going on back there, Champs.
Yeah,
you've won up to me, brother.
Yeah, we got a little bit of an upgrade. Got a new face cam. Hopefully that's coming up nicely for you guys on the YouTube, and hopefully the audio will be the exact same actually, but that is on the agenda to get. And then got a couple mugs to go with the background side by side. I think next would be a Nike Collingwood hoodie is on the next agenda.
Very nice, very nice. And we'll finish with one last topic. Hey, I actually do want to quickly rewind. 1%ers, Heath Shaw on Nick Rewalt, 2010 grand final. That 1%er would be the highest rated 1%er in the history of the AFL. And that I just want that to add to my point at the emphasis of like the rating of the 1%ers for Braden Maynard. The Braden Maynard hasn't quite done something like that just yet, but he's capable of it, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, last topic, where Collingwood are vouching to the AFL, lobbying with the AFL to have one less game at Marvel next season. I think we only have 2 in a year, at least this year, I think. We're trying to get a school holiday fixture in Gold Coast, and we know that Collingwood attract a good amount of attendances in Queensland. So it's smart, but at the same time, we get one less game at Marvel, and we all know how we feel about a certain Marvel stadium, right?
I think it's genius. I think
Fuck,
you're
it's-
promoting a game in a predominant NRL region, so you're going to get more eyes there. You've got the best team in the comp playing it, as in Collingwood. You're also, as we just alluded to, getting away from that pesky bloody Marvel Dockland Stadium. Yeah, we don't have a great track run there. So I think it's a good way for the AFL to promote games in Queensland, because I know they obviously want to get more predominant in those areas as growth areas. And then also for us, on a more personal level, would be to get away from Marvel. So for us,
Hey, is that a trip for us? Is that a trip for us?
it's
Is that
a
our
double win.
interstate trip next year?
You know how much I love Queensland. All right? I love Queensland. If I could, I'd move there tomorrow. But
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I think that if that's a chance, that we could definitely do something. Maybe even a vlog. I don't know. We'll see.
Vlog. We'll get the vlog. We'll gather around to the itinerary as well for next year, hopefully, and we can show the viewers how we go about a weekend away from Melbourne. Because we need to right our wrongs. Because the last one last time we went on interstate trip, we went to Sydney prelim final 2022. Caught a bus there, caught a bus back. We'll leave it there because you know what happened that night, that dreadful end. So we'll leave that. We'll leave that at that. And that marks. I think that's going to mark the end of the podcast, brother. You got anything else to add? Or are you sick of hearing my voice for another week or so?
Yeah. Sick of your voice until we've got this week. We've got the mid-season draft that you guys stay tuned for that. We'll be live streaming.
Good plug, brother. Good plug.
We've also got the pre and post-game show, the Bulldogs, and then a myriad of other videos that you'll see Anthony do throughout the week. So make sure you like, subscribe, listen on Spotify, and up the pies.
Brother, just before we end this, mate, you're getting good at this, brother, and I did not prompt him to do any of that. That is just natural talent in front of the camera, pure marketing 101, and we'll see you guys soon.
Cheers.
Cheers, Jeff. Thanks,
Cheers,
mate.
Jeff.